heat, guys. Just showing that this climate issue is real. Just give me a second. Let me share my screen. I am really honored to be here. So thank you so much for inviting me to come and present, to share a little bit about my story, a little bit about my background. Um, so thank you everyone for joining in. I know Friday evening, taking time out of your day to join us here today. So as Ruby said, my name is Feyi. I work in corporate sustainability, and I must say my path into this field wasn't exactly straight cuts. It wasn't linear. It wasn't like I perfectly planned to be here the way my career is now. And that's exactly why I love to share a little bit about myself, a little bit about what I've learned along the journey, and hopefully today some of you will be able to take some clarity, some learnings, and also gain some confidence and as well as a sense of what a career in sustainability, corporate sustainability can look like. All right. Okay. So on a personal note, I'm based in the UK. I'm married. I've got two daughters. Um, Currently on maternity leave. Some of my hobbies include reading. I love reading books, fiction, non-fiction, watching history documentaries, watching shows, horror movies. I'm always open to suggestions on new shows and books to read as well. Professionally, as we read out my profile, I am a process engineer by background. I've been trained as a brewer, so I used to work as a brewer. I'm a true zero waste advisor. There are many things that I've titles I've carried along the way, but these are some of the things that I just wanted to highlight. I'm also a principal sustainability consultant. I co-founded a sustainability consultancy a couple of years ago, just supporting businesses, small businesses across, in Nigeria, UK, wherever anybody needs support in their sustainability journey, particularly those that are just starting out in sustainability. Presently, I work for Monster Energy, um, in the operations team, part of supply chain, operations planning, but mostly working across the business and supporting the entire business on the sustainability journey is quite new for Monster. And so why are we all here? Why are people really interested in having a career in sustainability? It matters now. Like obviously, some of the comments on how you're all feeling, everyone's been talking about the heat over the past few weeks, the heat wave, and how it's really hot and it's impacting businesses, also impacting people's lives. So it just shows that now we're living in a time where sustainability cannot be called a side project anymore. It's now showing how companies are operating, how they're being able to innovate, or how they have to innovate to continue to be relevant in the marketplace, and also how businesses are thinking about the future, thinking about their, business continuity. So if we look beyond like the big headlines that we're seeing, but what really excites me about this field is people with curiosity, working with people with curiosity, creativity, conviction that, there's some climate crisis deniers out there with Susty vibes. We all know this. But working with people that have conviction of, we're here to save the planet for the future. We have to leave it better, for future generations, especially myself that have kids. It's really real of what kind of world am I living for them? And these are some of the qualities that I'm sure most of you already have on this call. You're all curious. That's why you're all here. With Susty vibes, there's no way you wouldn't have that conviction of, this climate crisis is real. So this is why sustainability careers matter now, regardless of what Trump and his friends in the US are saying. Um, so even apart from how it's shaping businesses, we're also looking at the regulatory and legislative, landscape across different continents and different countries. Everybody, they keep on changing regulations and requirements for businesses to comply with. So that's exactly why we need people that have these niche skills in sustainability that'll be able to guide businesses to comply with any regulatory and legislative requirements. And as I mentioned, like it's also shifting from nice to have, back in the day it used to be nice, we're doing CSR and we're doing good for society, but now it's business critical. If anybody on this call has had any opportunity of doing a climate risk assessment, it really highlights for a business how if you don't make changes in a sustainable way to fit sustainability for your climate, your social, your governance, then your business is really going to run out of, not only run out of favor in a few years with your customers, with your shareholders, but your business might actually have to shut down because, whatever you're doing is just not serving society, whatever that might be in future. So it is business critical. People are looking at it as business continuity now. And sustainability is so interesting in the sense, as I mentioned earlier, how it's working with people with curiosity and creativity. There's that problem solving, there's that interest, there's that digging deep to understand what the issues are and trying to find solutions that, I mean, current temperatures, nobody in the past has had to deal with the level of drought we're having in the world, the high temperatures we're having in the world. So us today, we're having to be even more creative in coming up with solutions that may not have, been possible in the past. So there's that demand for our particular type of talent. We're working with purpose. We're not just working for a paycheck. Yes, a paycheck is nice, but we're also working because we believe in this and we want to make a change, we want to make a difference. So there's that demand for people that are working with purpose and people that also have those skills. So really, I didn't start my career thinking, that I'd end up being in sustainability. I just followed the things that were interesting to me, following the questions that mattered to me, and with curiosity that also helped to open doors, for me as well. So I've said how, I didn't really plan to end up in sustainability. So I just want to talk a little bit about my career journey, and I'm sure you'll see how, how did she end up from chemical engineering to where she is today. So whilst I was in university, I had the opportunity to do some internships and some summer work programs and also some volunteering as well, just to beef up my CV in anticipation of graduation and trying to find a job once I graduated from uni. So I worked with Such and Sell, which is a logistics and freight forwarding business. I worked with them for a while. And then the one that's most relevant to my degree was working with ExxonMobil. So I worked on one of their refineries here in the UK, on their petrochemical site. So I was one of the petrochemicals summer interns. And then I've also had some experiences in volunteering. So I volunteered at the London 2012 Olympics. I also volunteered with Wind Aid, which is a charity in South America that is helping to build wind turbines for communities that don't have access to the grid. So that was a very interesting experience. Also, worked on it because I thought it was interesting and not because I necessarily thought about sustainability at that time. I was quite young. What did I know about sustainability? I had no clue. Then in 2014, I graduated from the University of Nottingham, chemical engineering, master's engineering. And then I got my first postgraduate job, which was with Atkins. So I joined as a graduate process engineer, working within the nuclear energy team. And my job was working in lots of safety assessments, design reviews of nuclear energy companies that wanted to set up plants in the UK. So my job was working with these clients to ensure that their designs would pass regulatory review because it had to be reviewed by the regulators and then approved before they could actually start building their nuclear power stations. So that's exactly what I was doing in my postgraduate job. So I hope you can see how already there's some link with sustainability there, even though my mind wasn't thinking about sustainability. These were just jobs that, I'd got and were interesting to me. After spending about 3.5 years with Atkins, I then moved to Nigeria and I started working with Nigerian Breweries, which is an operating company under the Heineken umbrella. First as a brewing and utilities shift manager, so I was working on quite a number of their sites. I had experience moving around Ibadan, Lagos, Kaduna. I was in Enugu, Aba, so I had a little bit of moving around in Nigeria, which was quite interesting. Um, and then there was an opportunity, I think a project had come up under the head office. So Heineken had this mandate of zero waste to landfill, and their target was by 2020. So this was in 2020, 2017, rather, sorry, 2018 that this opportunity came up. And I remember messaging the manager And I took advantage of the experience I had in Atkins because one of my projects was on dealing with nuclear waste at end of life. So I then messaged the manager and said, I put myself forward. I said, I have this experience. This is I've my degree and I've worked in all these breweries, so I'm familiar with the way the business is operating in the breweries, the realities of operations in the breweries across the different sections of Nigeria. And I then pulled out, I've worked on nuclear waste projects in the past. I think this would be relevant. This would also help, blah, blah. And so I then left the brewery and ended up in HQ working on a zero waste project. So my first title was actually zero waste manager. And then, as I said, like following that curiosity all the way through my career of, okay, apart from just zero waste, what can we do beyond just zero waste? So then I started talking to some of my colleagues in Heineken HQ, which is in the Netherlands, and working with other opcos, operating companies across the world. So I spoke to some of them in Brazil, in Mexico, spoke to them in the US, across Europe, across Africa, even as far out as Australia and things like that, just talking with them. Okay, so what are you doing with your waste glass? What are you doing with your waste paper? What are you doing with? And it became really interesting. And then that's where the topic of circularity came up. And so that's because of my interest in the conversations I'd been having with different people and doing research as well. It then positioned me within the business as a subject matter expert when it came to zero waste and circularity. And so that's how I started expanding my portfolio of work. And with circularity, circular economy, it's going beyond just, I know a lot of focus in Nigeria, and I know the challenge is really real around plastic packaging. But because this was looking across all the waste in the business, we're looking at things like the spent grain, the food waste, the paper labels that you have on the bottles, the crown corks, the foil that covers the bottles, things like that, everything. So we're looking at circularity from the sense of where are we getting this from? How can we work with our suppliers? How can we deal with it in-house? And how can we deal with it with the people that are taking the waste away? And so that's how circular economy, the conversation started coming up with other companies that started dealing with collaborating with Coca-Cola, collaborating with Nestle and the rest of them in Nigeria. And so that's how, I started taking on circular economy projects. And from there, my interests in from my, chemical engineering days, anybody here that knows a chemical engineer is a chemical engineer, a lot of our work is dealt with water. And so I then put in my interest, I think we should do something on water. And water is another big thing for Heineken as well. And so that's how I took water as well under my portfolio. Before you know it, we're looking at um using bio waste for energy. So looking at biomass. And that's how I took that as well under my portfolio. And that's how my role started expanding. And before you know it, it became this environmental sustainability manager position. And that's how I was able to then be part of the circular economy center of excellence. Oh, sorry, I jumped my head. Center of excellence, which was really good. And then I started putting myself forward for training as well. And that's how I became the ISO 14000, which is the environmental management systems audit lead auditor training. So have safety, food safety and things like that. So then working with them for about 5 years, I then moved back to the UK and started working with Avico, which was a boutique consultancy strictly on sustainability projects, which was an eye-opener for me because working in Nigeria and working on all these projects, it was very much I'm going out, I'm meeting people, we're having conferences, you're having, we're you doing projects that are more doing and executing the strategies that the business has. That's exactly what I was saying, what I was doing. But working with clients that had sustainability issues was these are people that come in with challenges that they didn't even know where to start from. So I had experience working with Heineken has said we want zero waste by 2020, taking that mandate and seeing how that could apply for Nigeria. But then now working with, excuse me, clients that had no clue. They knew one deadline by the government was coming down the line. They didn't know what to do. So that was a real eye opener for me in the sense of sustainability is more than just waste and circular economy. So I then was able to work on projects on carbon accounting, scope one, two, and three, climate risk assessments, life cycle assessments, and things like that. The whole range. And after a few months, um, Avico was then acquired by Accenture, which is a big beast across the world. And so that then opened me up to bigger clients and bigger projects. And then again, taking my previous experiences and selling myself to the business and selling myself to clients as well that have experienced in zero waste, circular operations, water, wastewater, and the like. And then again, I was able to build my portfolio. I was then being added onto more and more projects by just explaining myself and selling myself as an expert. And then after 18 months with them, I wouldn't lie, the work was a lot. I then came across this opportunity with Monster Energy, which is a nice mix of what I was doing with Nigerian breweries and what I'd been doing with Accenture. So that's how I ended up as operations efficiency and sustainability senior manager covering EMEA and OSP, which is the Oceania and South Pacific regions. And then again, obviously with my interest of helping people, companies set up their sustainability strategy and trying to help them execute and meet their targets. And that's how I co-founded Sustain Edge, Consulting as well. So if we're then looking at what corporate sustainability really looks like, um, now this slide is not exhaustive. I just tried to pull out some examples, um, that I can share today. So if we look at strategy, let's start at the very beginning, strategy and reporting. So a lot of businesses tend to start their sustainability journey based on what do I have to do? What is the legal requirements? What are the regulators telling me to do? And then it's from there they then grow and expand and they start saying, okay, we want to do things because we know it's nice for society. We know it's nice for our consumers and the rest of it. But usually just starts with what are the requirements? What am I legally obligated to do? So then you have things like, materiality assessments, disclosures, writing your reports, disclosing on your performance, managing the data that goes into these reports as well, and then setting targets. Because a lot of these legal and regulatory requirements expect you to set targets for you to meet, work towards. And so on the strategy and reporting, if you look at the set of bullet points on the right-hand side of that section, I try to put some roles that if you already have experience that you would mostly be able to fall in line with this. So if you look at accounting, for example, if you're an accountant, you're good with numbers, carbon accounting is not going to be an issue for you. Data management, managing large sets of data, if you're a data analyst, if you're a researcher, you're then able to understand, okay, what are the disclosure requirements? What do we need to include as part of our reports? And then project managers as well. Under climate and environment, where we have net zero and carbon accounting, this is just some examples. If you have an engineering background, science, IT, project management, operations, supply chain, the whole works, even legal, everybody falls under this climate and environment. If you have any kind of background, you can end up working on climate and environment projects. If we look at social impact and inclusion, we're looking at community management, diversity, equity, and inclusion, human rights is just a short list. You also have things like child labor, modern slavery, um, labor laws, and the rest of them. So we're also looking at our colleagues in marketing and communications, managing managing the news, or rather what we're sending out, the message we're sending out, marketing and communications, HR, teachers as well, raising awareness, researchers, copywriters, and things like that. If we look at sustainable products and innovation, um, this is where circularity falls under. We have green design for supply chain management. So if you have people that are already working in research and development, you're already working in marketing, procurement, project management, this is your wheelhouse. These are the areas that of sustainability that you'll be easily be able to plug into. Um, I probably want to take a stop here and see if anybody has any questions or any comments that they would like to add to what I've shared so far before I move on to the next section on skills.
Thank you so much for it. I was so engrossed. Like, I saw the amount of time required to build this much. I was just calculating 2014, 2023. That's a long time. So I don't know if anybody has like a contribution before she goes on. If you want to say something, ask your question, you could just raise your hand or unmute. If not, we could just go ahead. Anybody? All right. I think the questions will
Yeah.
come afterwards, but let's just keep
Okay.
going. Thank you.
Sounds good. So a lot of times they say, okay, when people hear corporate sustainability, the misperception is, they start thinking, okay, recycling bins, managing our paper waste, having solar panels on the office and things like that. But I think we can see that the reality is much broader, from research to legal to HR, everybody is involved. um from helping companies define what matters to them on the strategy and reporting, to the climate and environment, looking at your carbon, looking at your energy, looking at water, your biodiversity. This is really the technical backbone. And then social impacts, as I mentioned, community management, we're looking at people. How do you deal with people within the company and outside the company, in the communities where you're operating? And then with sustainable products and innovation, where sustainability and the market meet, where the commercial realities are. Yeah. So really it's really broad, it's really diverse. And a lot of times in corporate sustainability, you have to wear a lot of hats. So in my current role right now, I'm working under all of these topics, even though I'm collaborating cross-functionally, but I've got all my fingers in all of these ponds, I would say. So if there's something that's of interest to you, you would definitely find a place to play when it comes to corporate sustainability. So if we then look at some of the skills, um, again, this is non-exhaustive. A lot of people tend to undersell themselves, they underestimate themselves. They feel like, oh, because I haven't had a core sustainability role, therefore, I don't think I'll be able to get a job in sustainability. Or if I didn't study something that is sustainability in the title, therefore I won't be able to work in sustainability. But I would always tell people, don't underestimate yourself. So yes, of course, you're going to have technical skills. You only need some level of understanding of climate science. What are the issues? What is causing the issue that we're having right now? Some level of data literacy, since systems thinking, because sustainability, everything is interlinked. Also, some awareness of policy and regulatory, policy awareness. By the end of the day, these are all learnable. So if you're open to learning, these are things you can easily learn on the job. So we look at human skills, the soft skills. This, I would say, matters more because in my role, I found like, okay, technical knowledge is about 20%, but really the human skills and being able to carry people along the journey is the bulk of the work, is 80% of the work. So being able to tell a story, being able to influence even without authority, because a lot of these sustainability roles are not, yes, you do have some chief sustainability officers, you have head of sustainability and things like that, but you should be able to influence without authority. So a lot of us are working in, analyst level, associate level, manager, senior manager. We're having to influence the business, even though we don't have a lot of authority to make changes. So telling that story, carrying people along, collaborating across teams, you know, progress can be slow in corporate sustainability, but staying resilient because everybody wants a piece of, the money in the business. You would find, the legal team have a request, finance have a request, procurement have a request, and then sustainability comes with their own requests. But staying the course and staying resilient as well, because progress can be quite slow. But then if you're somebody that can connect the dots, communicate with people, motivate others to do the right thing, you're already having all the skills to excel in sustainability, corporate sustainability. So some of the ways to get into it is by attending conferences, webinars such as this, workshops, um, going on Eventbrite, for example. I think there's some virtual sessions or workshops, training, seminars that you can attend. I mean, you're already part of Susty Vibes, so this is a big part of, networking and improving yourself professionally to be part of, to get a break in the role in sustainability. So some of the ways to break into a career in sustainability, again, if you've had any job experience, you can sell it in a way that would be attractive to a recruiter or a hiring manager that you can work on the sustainability project. So, for example, having an internship, working in a graduate scheme, your first job, those skills, either technical, as I mentioned earlier, I use an accountant as an example. You've worked with big data sets, you're managing people's data, information, you're doing calculations. It's very easy to sell yourself as, oh, I will be able to do carbon accounting. I'll be able to calculate somebody's carbon footprint. Um, and that has to do with like having those roles that build, transferable skills, as I mentioned, if you're an accountant and you're able to manage large data sets, if you're a data analyst, you work in IT, you're an engineer, you're able to problem solve and things like that. So even starting off with an internship is not the only way. If you have a role in operations, you have a role in supply chain, communications, you can very easily, in the role that you have, build the skills that translate into sustainability. If you're volunteering, you're part of any societies, either student societies, you're part of Susty Vibes, so that's even a big one because Susty Vibes exposes you to community projects. And these are things that I would say when opportunities come up to put your hand up and get involved because this is you also building up your portfolio of projects, your work experience that you can say, yes, I've done some real experience in sustainability. Then if we look at certifications and short courses, not really mandatory, can be helpful maybe to fill up some of the time before you're able to break into sustainability to say, I did this short course and there's some on EDX, for example, Coursera, Udemy, that you can access for free as well. It's not mandatory, but they can help. And the networking with purpose, meeting people that are already in sustainability and just volunteering to help really and say, oh, do you have a project that you're currently working on? Is this something I can support you on? Or is this something that um I can shadow you as you're working on this? I mean, I'm always open to people shadowing the work that I'm doing. Um, it's fine. So my journey so far has not had sustainability in the title until a few years into my career, but being able to pull all my work experiences and sell it that, these are sustainability related activities that I did, and I have the relevant roles to be able to execute sustainability projects. So, my first job, my first role didn't have sustainability in it. I was still able to understand how businesses make decisions. And that has become invaluable to me in my career because I'll be honest with you, sustainability usually gets, the last point of discussion in a meeting. It's not usually top of mind. So being able to also sell, sustainability to the wider business, is, very, very important. So we're just even wanting to share a little bit of what the work is really like. Working in corporate sustainability. So first of all, you'd have some skeptics, as we said. There are some climate deniers and some people that still don't believe this climate crisis is real. If you tell them, well, what about this heat wave we're going through? They'll say, well, in my grandfather's time in 1920 something, there was also another heat wave. So therefore, that doesn't mean this is real. That's fine. So you'd have your unbelievers, you'd have your climate deniers. How do you get them on board? How do you sell that, sustainability is a real thing that we need to work on? It's not just some nice airy fairy projects that we're doing to satisfy, our shareholders, to tell our consumers that we're being good, we're being kind. It's real. These are things that we need to do, and then in corporate sustainability at work, my own experience is you'd have to collaborate with people across different teams. But there's that knowledge gap. A lot of people are experts in their own role. They may not know much about sustainability. They may not know much about how their own role translates to sustainability. Seen as it's relatively new, it's niche, even to businesses that have been doing sustainability for donkey years, it will still be new to some people that it's not their core role. If you go and meet somebody in, okay, facilities management, they would always be aware of it because they have to do with energy, they have to do with the water and the waste of the business. But if you go and meet somebody in maybe not finance, because finance, they also do reporting. Legal, they will have to be legally aware of what's going on. So if you go and meet somebody in marketing, if you have a marketing and event team, marketing and branding team, they'll be like, this is new, this is niche. My own is just to help sell the product. You speak to somebody in sales, they'll be like, oh, my own is just to put the products out there, put the service out there. I don't know what you're talking about. So people are experts in their own field. They're enthusiastic. Sometimes they say, oh, that sounds nice. I've heard our competitors are doing XYZ, but they don't know how to start. They don't know where to come from. So these are people that you have to carry along the journey. You'd have people have different levels of understanding, different levels of interest. How do you carry everybody along the journey with you to be able to execute some of the things you need to do? And then there's also the lack of interest. Some people are saying, what's in it for me? You want to run the sustainability projects. Okay, so what does that mean to my own profit and loss? What does that mean to my own team? What does that mean to my own role? So being able to sell sustainability as well it can be quite stressful trying to say, okay, for example, why do we need new recycling bins in the office? If you tell that to somebody in HR, it's like, what's my business? That's facilities management's business. Facility management, they want recycling bins because they want to save money by recycling more and sending less things to landfill or to incineration. So then is that how do you explain the importance to HR that this is why this is important to you as well? How do you do that? By saying, your staff members, they're keen on sustainability. And HR, you're also part of employee engagement. This is another avenue to engage the employees so they can work, tell them that we're doing this so we can be a business that you can be proud of working for, things like that. So again, they also ask you what's the motivation, what's driving the change. If this is a legal requirement, sure, we're going to do it. But if this is a project that's because it's a passion project of yours, on I've been told so many times this is a passion project of yours, Faye. Why are we doing this? They think sustainability is expensive. They will say, oh, we want to put solar panels on the roof. What's the point when we can just quickly buy diesel? Why do we want me to spend X amount of millions to put solar panels on the roof that I'll have to change how often I'll have to maintain, I'll have to service and the like? What if it's a cloudy day? I'm not going to get as much energy. Well, just run the generator. So then they'll be saying sustainability is costly. We have to change technology. We have to change systems. We have to change the way we're doing things. What's driving the change? I don't want some airy fairy projects. I want it. If it's not a legal requirements, I'm not interested. I've been told that so many times. And then there's also then shifting priorities. Companies and countries, they're shifting the goalposts on climate targets. So then businesses will also say, well, if the government cannot even make up their mind on what they want to do. So for example, I'm based in the UK and there was going to be a ban by 2030 for all diesel cars. There's going to be a ban. They said cars should be electric. They don't, but then they changed their mind. And then they put a target for net zero by 2050 and they started talking again. Oh, we can't meet it. Let's change it. So then what is the motivation? Why are you going to, I would say, how are you going to entice companies to do the right thing? Why would a company set a target if the government cannot even set their own target? They can't stick to their own target. So they always shifting the goalpost on climate targets. But how do you help the business stay on track? That regardless of what outside people are doing, this is the right thing to do. Let's stay the course and let's continue. Um, and then some other realities are the pace can be slow. You can be working on one project for a long time. But the interesting thing is you'll be juggling so many projects at once that it's not a problem. It's a case of, oh, I'm waiting for approval from this person to release funds for me to be able to do a community engagement project. Okay, whilst that one is there, I'm working on something with water. Whilst that one is there, I'm working on something on waste. Whilst that one is there, I'm working on something on IT. The pace can be slow, but the work is a lot that you will be juggling so many balls in the air that even if everything is stalled, sustainability work does not finish. It just does not finish. The way the world is going, things are changing, technology is changing, it doesn't finish. So even if all your projects are with other people for approval or input, there is something that you'll be able to pick up on and say, oh, why don't we do this way? And then that's something else they're working on. You often will have to work through influence, not authority. So as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of times like sustainability in the rooms I'm meeting with senior vice presidents, I'm meeting with VPs, I'm presenting to directors. These are the people I'm working with. But how can I get them to do what I want them to do? But I'm not on their own level. So a lot of my work is trying to influence them, trying to speak their language. So if I'm speaking to finance, I want to talk more about the financial benefits. If I'm talking to operations, I want to talk about how we're going to be more efficient. If I'm talking to sales, I want to talk about how we can sell more. So then it's how can I use my influencing skills to get the business to do what I think we should be doing, what I think we should, the right thing for us to do. And then also you have to be realistic. You have to, what is what is possible and what's, your ambitions. What do you want to do? It would be so great if the whole world could go electric, if the whole world could run on solar and wind energy, if the whole world could completely eradicate landfills and only in fact everything the whole world is circular. That would be great. But right now, that's not the reality. So even if that is our ambition, we have to scale it back to a case of what can I do today? What can we do right now? And sometimes it could just be I'm just going to buy an extra bin for the office for food waste. If that's all you can do right now, that's fine because each step forward should be celebrated. Otherwise, I would like to you, you can get frustrated with the pace at which things are going. So even if it's a small win, it's incredibly rewarding and it's worth celebrating. And so, how I have navigated my own career has been a mix of curiosity, some of my skills, my competence, and also being able to speak up to advocate for myself and also advocate for what we should be able to do. So, with curiosity, as I mentioned earlier, I followed the issues that interested me. I started off with waste, then circular economy. Then I said, give me water. Then I said, give me renewable energy. And before you know it, I'm working with clients. I'd never done a carbon footprint before, but I said, I can do it. Let me do it, doing a lot of research, teaching myself, looking at past projects, shadowing other people's work as well. So that curiosity helps me to then build the skills that made me credible. It then puts me in a position of, oh, I've worked with these clients, I've worked on this project, I've done this, I know how this is done. And then that's how I'm able to influence people that I'm credible. I think we should be doing this. Therefore, let me go and run with this. So that's being having the courage to speak up, to challenge why are we doing things this way? Why don't we do things this different way? And lead from where you are. There's sometimes that my manager, who is a VP, vice president, has told me, Faye, what's the point in doing this? And not that I was not compliant, I wasn't listening to him. What I did was I did like a test case and I used that to influence him. So leading from where I am, working with colleagues on my level to try and influence level or levels above. So then try and ask yourself, what are some of the issues that you care about? What energizes you when you think of sustainability? Even if you think of your career, what do you do? What do you think about that? Oh, I'm really excited about working with people. I'm really excited about working with data. I want to work by myself. I want to be able to speak to people about a certain cause. What is it? What are the issues that you care about? Oh, I care about children. I hate child labor. What can I do about that? Oh, I hate forced labor. What can I do about that? I love to build community. I love the idea of segregating waste. I love the idea of circular fashion and things like that. Then what skill or what skills do you need? Or what do you, skill or skills do you want to have to move to the next level? If, for example, you've been with Susty Vibes for a while and you have experience in writing reports for Susty Vibes, you have experience in community engagement, going to the schools and presenting sustainability, what skills do you think you can build on to improve on that to take you to the next level? And then what small action can you take this month? I know March is about to finish, but what small action can you take this weekend? I know one action that you've taken is joining this call, which is great to hear about somebody else's experience and then be inspired yourself to say, okay, what can I do for myself? How can I break into sustainability? But what small action can you take this month? Is there somebody in sustainability that you know of that you can reach out and say, I want to shadow your work? Or is there somebody that, in Susty Vibes, if there's a call out for, oh, we need support on working on this bid, how about you put your hand up for that? I know that Ruby has shared there's some internal recruitment opportunities. How about you put your hand up for that and put yourself forward for those roles? And really, you don't need a job title to start doing work in sustainability. So even wherever you're working now, because you don't have sustainability in your title, does not matter. You can start doing something where you are. Meet with people in your office, have conversations. What can we do? Let me take that on. Let me do it as a side project and things like that. So just to recap a little bit, first of all, sustainability is very broad. As I said, even if all your projects are stalled, sustainability work does not finish. There's so many avenues for you to get in, but you can pick a solid base and say, yes, I'm an expert in this, or I want to build my sustainability career in this. And you would, before you know it, your tentacles will begin to grow and you start getting into other sustainability topics. But it's very broad. The climate crisis is very real. There's more than enough room for everybody and everybody to contribute. So pick something that, as I said, energizes you, what interests you. Then diversify your skills. What you think is, oh, I'm sure everybody does it. Everybody knows how to write a report. It's not everybody that knows how to write a report. Some people don't have that attention to detail. Oh, but I just do slides, or I just take meeting notes, or I'm just an accountant, or I'm just a doctor. There's so many skills. Sustainability needs a diverse range of skills for us all to work together. Again, sustainability is very broad. Therefore, the skill sets that is required is very broad. You should be able to think in systems and not think in isolation. It's a case of um let me see what I can use as an example for this. If I make this change, how is it going to impact other people? So it's that, and I love the way how materiality assessments expanded to become double materiality assessments, looking at what is my impact on the environment or society, but what is society and the environment's impact on the business as well. So systems thinking, you can make changes for your business, but how is that going to impact? So for example, okay, a good example would be I want to plant trees. Why do I want to plant some trees for the business? Oh, it's good for society. Added greenery, they're going to capture CO2, it's going to retain water in the surrounding soils and things like that. But then you now have to think wider than that. How is it going to impact the biodiversity of the area? If you're introducing a tree that is not native to that area, how is that going to impact the ecosystem that is there? So really thinking outside of just your own bubble. Then technical experience, as I mentioned, shadow projects, create your own projects, volunteer your time in a new topic, jump in, even if it's something you have no clue how it's done, volunteer your time. And, over time, you'd obviously be able to pick up different skills, different technical skills, different understanding, different learnings. Um, yeah, as I said, shadow projects, create projects. There's a projects that you can think of. Who knows? Reach out to Susty Vibes, reach out to Ruby and say, oh, I have this idea. Who's the best person within Susty Vibes or in the outside network that I can talk to and work with? Then build connections. Again, as I said, you're part of Susty Vibes, but have you joined Susty Vibes and just kept quiet? Or are you meeting people? Or you work at this company, or you've worked on this project, you have this experience. Build those connections, share the learnings, share understandings, your backgrounds, your experiences, and just build those connections. I have a group of people that I know I can call on if I want to do a life cycle assessment now and I get stuck. I know somebody to reach out to if I want to work on something that has to do with public health, that has to do with mental health, climate crisis, and the impacts on mental health. I know I can reach out to Jennifer. Please, Sosima, I need your advice. Blah, blah. There are people that you should have in your arsenal that you can reach out to. Be open to sharing your ideas, sharing your opinions, getting those global best practices as well. And then stay curious. Just, the way things are always evolving. question why it's evolving. Why did this new regulation come up? Why is this new legislation here? How is it going to impact this business? Ask questions. And I don't know about other career rules, but I would say in sustainability, everybody's always willing to share their projects. They are always willing to talk about the work that they've done because trust me, for it to have been executed must have taken a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of I'm always open to sharing, talking about my projects. So ask questions. Nothing is ever ridiculous. Nothing is ever just a silly question. Always ask questions. Why did you do this? What did you work on? What was your best project? Can you share your insights? What was the technical skills that you had to put as part of that? Even the new ISSB, I think they want to bring it to Nigeria. Just ask questions. Oh, how is this going to impact your business? Do you mind sharing how you're going to implement this and things like that? So really, nobody knows everything. As I mentioned, I have a pool of people that I know I can reach out to. And I know if I go on LinkedIn, I could always find people that, I may not know you, but if I reach out to you and I ask a question, I'm open to asking questions. And if you don't answer me, that's fine. But being open to learning and being curious and asking those questions. And nobody's ever going to say it's a silly question because we're all learning on the go. Every day I'm learning something new because everything changes. Technical standards are changing. The regulatory requirements are changing, the way things are being done are changing. First, they said plastic is more sustainable. Then they said aluminium can is more sustainable. Then they said glass is more sustainable. Then they went back to plastic. So everything is always changing, everything is always evolving. Always ask questions, put yourself out there, stay curious. And with that, I would like to say a big thank you for inviting me. Um, Thank you for having me, taking time out for us to talk. I'm open to questions. I'm open to you reaching out to me either via email or on LinkedIn. As I mentioned, I'm always open to talking about my projects and things I've done. And Susty Vibes, Ruby, invite me again if you want to do any technical webinars. I'm always open to sharing some of those technical skills on, how do you calculate a carbon footprint? What does this mean? How do you do an LC? I'm always open to doing things like that. So please feel free to reach out to me. And just remember, you can start where you are. Start with what you have, the skills you have, the job you have. You don't need a job title to be doing sustainability work. It's our time, our generation that is going to shape the way the future is going to go. The way the temperature rise is going. We are at a point at which if we don't do anything, it's going to be too late to do anything. So ask yourself, as I said, what is that one small step you can take this month, take this weekend? Yeah, so thank you very much. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts and your ideas, questions. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Faye. This is a lot. For me personally, it's a lot. I'll have a question. Okay, I'm going to ask this question. And if I reach like the next 5 minutes, you've answered it. I'm like, how did she know I was coming to this? So this is actually so much, and I'm so grateful to be part of this. And thank you so much for
Thank
honoring our
you.
invitation. I don't
Thank
know
you.
if we have questions from the community. Please, if you have a question, this is the best time to catch her on. Temidayo, I don't know if she's still on the call. She wrote in the chat that she currently works in HSE and wants to expand. Okay, Esther is raising her. Esther, please unmute. Hi, Esther.
Okay. All right. Good
Oh,
evening, everyone. Good
evening.
evening, Faye. Thank you for
Hi,
this
Esther. Good evening.
session. I enjoyed it so much. So I'm just
Thank you.
taking home with how I can navigate sustainability career, like three C's from what you say: curiosity, competence, and courage. Thank you so much. I enjoyed the session. So my question is: so I'm a pharmacist.
Okay.
And so many times I've been thinking about it, like what do I need to do? How do I need to vent as a pharmacist? And I still want to maintain that background as a pharmacist.
Mm,
So, and also adding, venturing into corporate sustainability. Is there any guideline or anything that any point that you can give me on how to just go about it? Because sometimes I know that there can be dots there to connect, but
mhm.
I don't I don't know it yet, and I don't know how to go about it. Thank you.
Okay. That's okay. Yes, so can I ask, at which point of your career are you in now? Have you started working as a pharmacist? Do you work in a pharmacy or do you work for a pharmaceutical company?
Okay, yeah, I've worked in a community pharmacy. I've also
Okay.
worked in the hospital. Then, but
Okay.
currently, I'm doing my NYSC and also looking forward to working in. I'm looking for a job actually to work in a community pharmacy while doing my NYSC.
Okay. Okay. Yes, so I have a little visitor. So the different ways, the things that are coming off the top of my head with pharmacy, as I said, you can do sustainability with what you have right now. And a lot of the things that come out with in the pharmaceutical industry or medical industry is has to do with a lot of waste. So how did I worked with a pharmaceutical company, and this was a circular economy project whereby they were selling um the insulin injections, and they wanted to know how would they be able to create a take back program for the I don't know if it's the same in Nigeria, how there's like a casing around the injection itself. So they wanted to create a take back program. How were they going to be able to do that? So one, designing that take back program, and two, identifying avenues for reusing, recycling, incinerating, whatever it is, what were they going to do at end of life? So with pharmaceuticals, so that's one aspect of things, is the waste aspect of things. Another area again is again with waste, but has to do with the water. So there've been a lot of questions around, okay, what is the water waste that's coming out of the pharmaceutical industry? Where does it go? How does it impact the society, around the area? I've had a case study of whereby there was waste that was leaching into the ground and there was impacting a local playground, how, it was leaching into the waterways and impacting the men in a particular how do you say, in a particular community because there was too much estrogen in the water and things like that. So those are some of the things that have to do with sustainability. But working in a community pharmacy, as you said, I think your sustainability impact is going to have to come from the social aspects of things. So thinking of, you're working in Nigeria where, I think it's like the second from the top poverty capital of the world. And then that social aspect of what are some of the programs, what are the engagement opportunities you can have with the local community? People that have kids, how can you encourage new mothers to get vaccinated during their their natal process? How can you, or rather their pregnancy timeline, how can you encourage them to get the right vaccinations for their children? How can you be able to raise awareness on the vaccination programs for kids in your local community? Yes, you can. Bye. So how can you raise awareness? How can you engage with kids in the local community on personal hygiene, cleanliness? Scratch myself on the TV when okay. Talking. Okay, sorry. Sorry, guys. So then is those things of community engagement. You're a community pharmacist, and it's not just working in your pharmacy, but from a health perspective and working with your local community. How can you engage with the local kids? How can you engage with men? How can you engage with the women? How can you then design programs that help people that truly cannot afford their medication? So raising a drive or, creating, I don't want to say you have to create a charity or anything like that, but yours will come under that social aspects of sustainability, engaging with the community, raising awareness around their health. And people will say, oh, it's health, there's no sustainability, but it all falls under the social impacts of what you can do with your community. I hope that answers your question a little bit. It's not something that has to be part of. Seven's colourful hair. Take 7 small balls of Play-Doh sorry about that. So it's not something that, it has to be part of your job title. It can be something that you start as well. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, yes. Thank you for that clarity. Thank you so much. Yes, you did.
Thing. Okay, good, good, good.
Thank you so much, Esther, for that. I hope you got the clarity you needed. I don't know if we have more questions, but we are way past time. And this was a very beautiful session for me. And I'm glad that it's been recorded so we can go back and rewatch. So, do we have questions, like feedback, or just say a big thank you to our hosts in the chat box? Like, say something nice because this is a lot. This is a lot of planning. Like, I was surprised at so much information she had for us. So you can say our thank yous in the chat box. Thank you so much for being part of this. Yes, Chidubem is
Oh,
saying thank you. They're all putting up hearts for
thank
you.
you.
Thank you
Thank you,
so
guys. Thank you
much.
so much.
I've
Thank
really
you for
literally
your
learned a lot.
time.
Yeah. Thank you so much. S-
Thank you.
Uh, the thank yous are still coming in, so if you just wait and see, keep them coming. We can keep them
Thank you
coming.
all so much. Thank you. And please feel free to reach out. I'm always open to
Yeah, yeah.
sharing more my experience. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ruby, for organizing this as well.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you, everyone, for
Susty.
your kind words. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Let's not take much of our time. We've come to the end of our community session for the month of March. Thank you so much for joining and peace out. Let's have a beautiful weekend, everybody.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.